It's here, baby. It's here. Yeah, the PSVR2 is here, but episode 109 of PlayPSVR2, the podcast post-launch discussion is here. We're going to talk about our initial impressions of the PSVR2. We're not going to give you reviews right now. We got to play these games. We can talk appropriately and accurately about them. But I'll be danged. It's here. And it's great. And Adam and I are going to be diving into this to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and some of the games, just so you can know what we think about PSVR 2 and maybe convince you to get one if you don't have one yet. But Adam, how you doing tonight?
Dude, I am ready to dive in like a gopher into a mole hole, baby. I've got my headset on my face right now. I'm ready to rock. The best thing about this is I don't have the pass-through on, so I can't see your ugly mug. I love VR. I love PSVR 2. It's not perfect, but we're going to get to it.
So looking at you like that, one thing I'll notice, it just looks a lot better than the PSVR 1 did when somebody's wearing it. But I think if you turn your head to the side, it's like it looks a lot bulkier, like it goes out a lot more, but straight ahead, it looks way better. Adam, what is your gamer juice tonight?
So now I'm going to take the headset off because it's going to be very difficult to do both of these. This is
your video freaking out? It's freaking out for me.
It is, but I'm going to roll with it. This is a Jungle Gym special. This is Toxic Waste Slime Liquor Sour Soda. It's strawberry flavored, and I brought a...
Does that taste like your mom? Because your mom licked a lot of slime in her day.
Ew. Was it sour? So let's see. I like sour stuff. Let's see how sour it is, baby. Wow, that isn't sour at all. Wow, this was such a disappointment. I was hoping I would be puckering up all night like I pucker up for your auntie, but instead, this is just strawberry soda, dude. That is just strawberry soda.
Is it good? Is it at least like tasty?
I mean, yeah, it's good, but it's just strawberry soda. I mean,
well,
what a piece of crap. Slime liquor, my butthole.
I went down to the Publix and got a little beverage called, you can't read it, it's too bright, Needs and Wants. It's called Needs and Wants. Sparkling grapefruit tea.
What a weird name.
With citrus, elderflower. Well, that's because we're here satisfying the listeners' needs and wants. And just like I satisfy your auntie's needs and wants.
Oh, that was a good basis. One. If you didn't make the joke, I was going to, but you beat me to it. Apropos, that is. Oh, wow, your face.
It just tastes like drinking a flower, which, I mean, of course, it looks like it would taste like that, but I just don't know who drinks this stuff. It's got caffeine. I'm going to down it, but
it sounds like something I would try, but I hate that for the PSVR 2, the introductory podcast, we both pick sucky gamer juices.
I got coffee on standby. I'm good. Like I got my standby here, but yeah, it's not good. Not. I mean,
great. I did bring a Liquid Death sparkling water. I've been wanting to try this.
Not sparkling. You'll be disappointed. It's water.
No. It says sparkling water right here, baby.
Oh man, I must have bought the wrong one. What's the deal with Liquid Death? It's just water, right?
It's all marketing, baby. It's all marketing. It's
like a $5 can of water.
Yep, I got it at Jungle Gyms as well. It tastes good. It tastes like water. But between this and the slime liquor sour soda that's not sour, I'm going to be double fisting my way through the entire episode. I want to talk about the good things about the PSVR 2, Alex, because there is a lot to talk about and things that I'm very impressed with right off the bat. First has to be resolution, right? In every game that I played, especially the games where there were free upgrades or upgrades that maybe you had to pay a little bit for, you got to compare. I knew Res looked like this. I knew Thumper looked like this. Now it looks like this, and it is above and beyond what I thought it would look like. In flat mode, when you're in Gran Turismo 7, or you're just playing a flat game with your headset on, the resolution is so good. I have one of the fancy, expensive TVs. It is just as good as that, if not better, because it feels closer. Man, it's next level. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, although I will say that I saw some funny stuff with Thumper, at least. I haven't noticed it in other games, but Thumper It seems like because it's higher resolution, I'm able to see the limitations of like the textures or whatever they're doing in the background, so I can see some of like the noise or the modeling in the background. Nothing too distracting. I got over it pretty quickly, but it was just it's one of those things where like because we have this enhanced resolution, I can now see some of the finer details going awry with the resolution. However, flat mode, you're right. Although there is kind of the odd thing with the flat mode of like, especially Gran Turismo, like the text in the corners looks blurry unless you like move your
Yeah.
head to look at it. I don't know what that's about. It might be just me not being in the exact sweet spot or something like that. Nevertheless, it's not bad enough to make me be like, this is garbage. It certainly looks good enough to play as it would on a TV or something like that. So I have eschewed my TV. My PS5 is now here where I play PSVR, and I don't need a TV to play flat games if I ever wanted to again on the PS5.
That's true. My living room has a TV in it anyhow, but it's really nice that if you don't have a TV, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And if you, well, I'll talk about it, but that's going to be on the negative portion about the comfort of this headset. But to jump back in to just some of the good stuff. So I really enjoy the Sense controllers. I don't fully understand. I'm assuming it's because of the tracking. I don't know why they're shaped the way they are. And I know a lot of the other VR headsets are the same way. The controllers look similar. I don't know why that wonky design, but it's comfortable to hold. My hands get a little sweaty, but it's because I'm in the action, baby. Maybe my hands would always get sweaty. I don't know, but they work exceedingly well. It is awesome not having to worry about a freaking camera that tracks you. And another thing I really enjoyed was the introductory setup of the VR to where you got to make your own play area and you like expanded or took out what you wanted. I don't know why, but I really liked that because I had all the little Sony symbols on the floor and it showed you the whole area. And then they had the little eye tracking thing where you looked at the little colored dots around, the periphery. It was just really enjoyable to do. And I'll admit, Alex, the first time that I saw the pass through, yeah, I haven't been in another VR headset. This is the first time I've seen this technology, which now I find out the other ones also have this. I like giggled like a schoolgirl, dude. I could not believe it. That like I was able to look in my room in pretty good resolution. Obviously, it was somewhat pixely. And then I could look at a controller and it's telling me, hey, that's the right controller, dude.
Yeah.
Like that is so nice because I can move stuff out of the way. I can grab a drink. I can grab the controller. I can look for my headphones. If I lost a controller or a remote, I can pick that up. If someone breaks in, I can look and see immediately. Like that is so cool. And it's a feature that I guess all of these other headsets had. I've never seen, so it blew me away.
I mean, it is a feature that other headsets have. I think this pulls it off the best I've seen, at least. I haven't seen very many, but it does better than like the Quest, in my opinion. The resolution's better, so like it's functional, right? Like I can even do I can read a little bit of screens and stuff like that through the pass through if I need to, like get my phone. If the text is big enough, I can see it. But the really nice thing is it's easy to just make it happen. So like if we're playing a game and I need to quickly do pass through, there's the button right there, just doop, and it goes to pass through. And I'm always worried, like crap, it's gonna take a second. No, it's just boop, bam, pass through. You're in pass through mode. Grab your drink, set it down, situate yourself, see where you are in your room. No more of this crap where I'd have to like lift up the VR headset, potentially ruin all my tracking, make sure like nothing's going on, and put it back on. Now when my kids are running around, I can just boop, hey, I see you. What's up? Get out of my house. Get out of my room. Go back to bed. Yes, I know it's 5 in the afternoon. You need to be in bed because I'm playing games. I can do that with this path through. So it works really well. I mean, the environment setup, I don't have the best setup. I play in an office here and I have like chairs and stuff to get around. It works just fine and I don't really have any issues with it. It just wasn't anything mind-blowing or super exciting. I'd like to do it in a larger space, but I don't have the larger space, and even then, things are still working pretty good. Although, it didn't pick up the ceiling fan that I had above me, and I ended up punching that last night when playing Pavlov to try to jump up and grab a gun.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. So I have a cut on my finger from getting hit by a fan blade. But that's okay, the DualSense was fine. I can get a new finger. I can't get a new DualSense yet.
That's right. And it's funny because I can use pass. In fact, I've done this in Pavlov while we were playing. I used pass through found my drink that was on the floor, took a drink, placed it safely back on the floor, and entered the game back away from pass through mode, all faster than it took me to reload a gun in Pavlov. So, that's pretty good. That's probably saying more about Pavlov than it is the pass through, but
Probably saying more about you, but yeah.
No, F you, definitely not. So, another thing I like that definitely the first version did not have, and I know there's a fancy word for this, and I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. Don't crucify me here. But when you put the headset on, there's this flappy kind of latex part that covers your face and your eyes so no light gets through. It does a really good job. Like, it is black in there. It looks like you are in a movie theater. They just turned the lights off. There's the big screen, or you're just playing VR. That to me has really helped immerse myself, especially games like Thumper, where when I was playing Thumper, it's intense enough that I have no effing idea where I'm at. Someone could have come and jacked everything in my entire house. I would have no idea. I am in that world. There is nothing, no stimulation from outside getting in. It's incredible. You can't ask for any better. And I think that was something I took for granted, that now having an updated version of that, I think is clutch.
Yeah, there was a few times playing PSVR 1 where I'd like accidentally get the situation where things were just right and it would block like 95% of the light. And there'd still be a little bit of bleed through in the bottom, but like that would be dealt with. I have kind of a tall nose. There were some times where like I could never get things just right. My nose would always be getting in the way. This is never an issue. They have those little nose blockers, like the special feigned pieces that like go over your nose to block it. That's super cool. But yeah, no time at all. I'm completely immersed, completely in the zone, and it's amazing for games like Gran Turismo 7 where you're doing a lot of looking around. It makes everything a lot more natural feeling. And then again, when like cinema mode, right? Like you're not distracted by that TV. That TV being there, you're not being distracted by like noise from the external and stuff like that. It's just, it works very well, very easy to implement. You don't have to fiddle with it. It just works. I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but the fact that we don't need that dang camera for tracking is, it's incredible. It's the first time I've, again, experienced where you have room scale, and two, don't need a camera, and it's awesome. I mean, when I bend over, I bend, baby, and it feels good, and people take advantage most of the time. But it is so nice to be able to move around. I could turn around 360. It was great in res when I was in my hanging chair and I just wanted in that third boss. He was behind me. Well, I just turned myself around.
Mhm.
Who cares? The first PSVR would be like, hey, bro, I can't see the lights. This one, it's like, F you, dude. I'm tracking you the whole way to the bathroom. It is awesome. I love it. Just, again, increases immersion because you're not worried or you're not seeing those error messages. It's great, man. I love it. You told me it would be a game changer for me. I believed you, but until you actually experience it for the first time, it's hard to really appreciate that you now don't need those error messages. You don't need that camera, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is that it makes the time, like from when I decide I'm going to play VR, like the time from that moment to when I'm playing VR is incredibly shrunk down, because before for PSVR 1, even if I had a consistent gaming setup, I'm never standing in the same spot in the room. If I'm sitting in a chair and the chair can move, I'm maybe sitting in a different area in the chair or something like that. My routine for PSVR 1 was always, okay, sit still, put the VR headset on, hope you're in view of the camera so it calibrates properly when you turn it on. Then it shows you that screen that you're waiting for to show you what you look like in the camera. And then I have to like walk up and adjust the camera to make sure that I have like enough room above me, enough room below me that I'll be able to reach the ground if I need to, and stuff like that. And adjust the camera, then readjust the headset, make sure the height looks right, make sure I look tall enough appropriately, do all that stuff. Then I can play VR. And that's usually like a 5-minute, 10-minute process, depending on what my setup's like. God forbid I ever change where I'm playing VR at, take the PlayStation somewhere else, or, you don't have to worry about the precarious setting of the camera below or above the TV or anything like that. Now it's just, I can pick this up, go somewhere else, plug it in, and I'm ready to play. And it's so nice. I mean, if it is a new setup, it's going to ask for like a new looking thing. play environment. But you can say like just standing, and you don't have to draw anything. You just say, yeah, I have room. I'm going to stand here. But yeah, and then of course when you're playing the games, no warnings. Like if I sit down, I'm not going to see that wireframe view of where the camera's expecting me to be, and I got to get back in it. It's just I'm sitting there, and we're good to go. What it really makes me want is Battlezone. Battlezone was a game I was notoriously getting out of the view for whatever reason. I don't know why.
There.
That's just the one I remember it most is like playing Battlezone, and I'd see that camera pop up, and it's like I guess I'm just playing Battlezone with this camera in my face.
You must weird. You must be like right on the edge. That's hilarious.
I'm like always having to move my camera around, but sometimes the camera itself would like lose its position with respect to where the VR is, so like it wouldn't know. It just tracking issues in general, they're resolved. It's not an issue anymore, and it's seamless and easy.
Yeah, and you mentioned the speed, the lack of load times or minimum load times.
Yeah,
it's just as fast. I feel like as the PS5 is.
Yeah.
Right. So,
it's more of a benefit of like the PS5, but since PSVR2 is a PS5 only console, yeah, everything's just bam, bam, bam. I mean, the big thing for me is I can do the pause resume, right? Like I'm playing Gran Turismo 7, I got to stop. And then I come back the next day, I can just pick up exactly where I left off, put the VR headset on, and no reconfiguring. I'm not suddenly going to be outside of my car when I start the game or anything like that. It's just, I'm there, I'm in it, exactly where I was, regardless where I'm sitting in my office or room or whatever. And I'm just playing, and it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, booted up, you're there.
Yeah. I just like, I enjoy this. Everyone wants faster, right? Speed is better. So in Thumper, when I lose, boom, it's going to have me back in no time. I cannot, and I should have thought about this before the podcast. I'm treading lightly, but I cannot think of a single load screen that I've seen in a game that I've played. Now, when creating parties and like Pavlov, there's a little bit there, but that's because we're joining a bunch of people. I'm thinking
that's like internet connection stuff too.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, so when I played Tentacular, I thought there was a load screen, and I was like, okay, well, whatever. It was short, I don't care. And then one of the like hints, like on the third load screen, was like, you can skip these screens if you want. I was like, oh, okay. I just hit the button, and I go.
That's
I'm just sitting there waiting like a doofus. It would like after 10 seconds it would leave, or 5 seconds or whatever. But no, you skip right through it. So there's like no loading. You're in it. You're playing. It's good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you don't notice that it's great until if we ever go back to PSVR 1 and play a game, we're like, I'm sitting here waiting for this to load. Like Resident Evil 7 had bad load time sometimes.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine trying to get gold on all these Gran Turismo 7 license tests if I had to sit through a load screen before every time it loaded up the session. If I mess up, I just hit retry, bam, I'm right at the start again, going again. It's so seamless and so great.
Yeah. I didn't enjoy the cord. I still don't love the cord, but I will admit it is much better and less cumbersome than I thought. It's a skinny little cord. It fits right in the front of the PS5. It is pretty long. I mean, definitely long enough that is playable. Like if you have a big room, it's not going to be able to reach everywhere in the room, but at some point there has to be a limitation, right? They can't make it too big. It's definitely not as bad as I thought. It hasn't hindered me in playing at all. At this point, although again, being wireless would be really nice, I believe if this is the only way to get that higher resolution, you were correct in that this was definitely worth it to have that one tiny cord for the higher resolution.
And the thing you're not realizing because you haven't experienced is the headset's so light compared to these other wireless options. It's a lighter headset. It's not going to get hot with the battery packs and stuff like that. It's not going to feel heavy on your head ever. Sometimes to its detriment, as I'll get to later. But the other thing about the one cord is, and you don't think about it because maybe you set up your PSVR once and you're good to go. But anytime I set up PSVR, it's an issue of finding another outlet to plug the breakout box into. Then I have to plug the USB cord into the breakout box from the PlayStation. So I got to find a USB port on the PlayStation. Then I have to plug the camera into the PlayStation. So that's another port right there. Then I have to plug the HDMI cord from the PlayStation to the breakout box. Then an HDMI cord from the breakout box too. So like those interfaces as well are resolved. And so it really is just, it's one cord, not just in like, oh, it was annoying to have those two little weird cords coming out of the PSVR headset. Now that's just one USB-C, but it's one cord for everything. PS5 does all the other heavy lifting. You just plug this thing right into the front and bam, you're off to the races. And it works great. And our buddy Shafe Dog bought an extension cord too. So if you need even more length, Shafe will send you some cord enhancements, some length enhancers.
Trust me, length has never been an issue,
It's
Alex.
always the thickness. Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah. The and what was cool is I need to post on Twitter or something. I have a picture of what like my little PSVR station looked like. I have a little shelf and it had like the headset display and it had some of the cords. And so I have a picture of that with all the PSVR1 cords. I mean, it was a mess. It looked like octopus crapped out electronic baby. And now there's nothing, man. I've got my Collective Minds display stand and the controllers and everything are tugged in. There's one cord to the outlet and one cord to the PS5, and that's it. It is a beautiful sight. I love it, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I have my PSVR one sitting down next to me here just because I got everything out, put it together, and just got it off the table as fast as I could. And it is a mess. And it's like, as somebody who's going to be keeping the PSVR one just in case they ever got to bust it out again, like I'm having a hard time thinking about like how am I going to manage these cords and keep them all in the same spot and not bend them or crack them or something like that. It is quite a mess. I mean, it's the price we paid for being early adopters of VR technology, more or less, and it was fine. But in hindsight, man, what a burden, and that burden's resolved. So,
yeah. And one thing we both experience is with the PSVR 2, it's really nice to be able to use that camera, the actual PS5 camera, for streaming. Whereas before you had your camera, but it had to be used for tracking. You couldn't like stream with it and track at the same time. This is really nice because I feel like you playing VR is just as entertaining as that game itself, as you watching the game. It's maybe more entertaining watching the person playing, right? So when I had my first jump scare in Resident Evil 8, everyone got to see it. When I was in my swing for Res Infinite, people saw me swinging, and it was pretty dope. People enjoyed that. So it's really nice to be able to use that aspect. You just do share button, start your recording or broadcast. It works really well. I enjoyed it. You had a few streams. Everything worked well for you too, right?
yeah, and I mean, there's lots of options with that too. Like if you do green screen, you can do green screen stuff, and you can adjust the shape of the window that you have down there. You can adjust the transparency. So how much, like, are you just totally opaque compared to the game? Can you make yourself a bit lighter so that the game can shine through what you're doing? It's just a nice, easy way to add that element, that personal element to a streaming situation. I'm not a big time streamer or anything like that, but it's always seems valuable to show what it looks like when you're playing this because all this cool stuff is happening. Am I doing cool stuff or am I hitting buttons on a controller? That kind of helps you see what the gameplay is actually like. And I mean, you see me as a doofus holding my DualSense going like that in Gran Turismo, but it lets you know that like, hey, I'm doing all right in Gran Turismo and I'm using the DualSense like that and I'm not having a horrible time with it. So yeah, it works. It works surprisingly well. Again, that was also very seamless and easy to pull off. And with the whole one cord system like that, I have a USB port available to plug that HD camera in. So yeah, kudos to Sony. I mean, it was mentioned, but it does feel honestly like the PS5 was designed with the PSVR 2 already like coming up behind it. Like we knew this was coming out. This wasn't something we were like, oh crap, we should just make a VR headset and figure out how to make it work with a PS4. They knew this was happening and they had things in place already to make it go.
Yeah. But I have to admit, Alex, it's not all fun and games. It's not all great. I actually legitimately have some issues with this headset. And the first one I think we disagree on. I will argue vehemently that I am correct here because I always thought the PSVR was pretty comfortable. I never had issues with the PSVR in terms of playing for hours at a time or being uncomfortable playing that. This new headset, I cannot say the same. So the issue, I believe, is that the PSVR has this. Hopefully, I'm probably going to make a bunch of stuff fall, but it has, again, I don't know what it's called. Forehead guard. That's what I'll call it. I don't know what it is. There is a black part of the PSVR that kind of rode up your head, up your forehead, and it was pretty large, but it allowed a lot of that weight to sit kind of vertically on your head. Whereas now with the PSVR 2, that doesn't exist. So a lot of the onus of the weight is now forced on you cranking this dial on the back of the headset, which tightens the grip around your head, which for me, I have to tighten it so much, it literally hurts. Like I was thankfully, and I have a fix, thankfully, but I noticed that the first time I even played it. It was just so uncomfortable. And today I was playing Resident Evil. I played maybe 20 minutes and I was like, I can't take this. Like I legitimately cannot wear like it hurts because I have to crank it so high and it still won't sit still. Like I noticed the front part of the headset started to droop down. And so then that causes you to crank it even more. Like it's just horribly uncomfortable. But, and this is incredible. If you remember back in the day, we did a review on PlayPSVR.com for the Studio Form Creative VR head strap. And I never thought it was really that big of a deal. I was essentially, if you're not watching, it is a piece of fabric. I mean, go on the website and you can see it. And we have a review of it and things, but it's just I don't want to say cheap, it's well made, but it's just a piece of fabric with Velcro at the end. And you Velcro it to the two sides of the halo on your headset. It makes this somewhat ugly piece of fabric sticking up. However, I put this on, Alex. It alleviated all of my issues. I was able to play Resident Evil. I immediately noticed more comfort and I was able to play without any pain. The issue is that not everyone is going to have one of these. The second issue is I think it is poor that they made a $550 peripheral that I'm not the only one who thinks it's uncomfortable. I've read and heard people say the same thing, that they didn't test this and make it just as comfortable with what you mentioned is a lighter headset. So how does that even happen? It's really bad. It looks better. It feels like it's made better, like higher quality, but all of that is useless if it's less comfortable and you can't sit and enjoy your games for a long period of time because it actually physically hurts you. So that's my biggest gripe, and it's a big one.
So, I mean, I hear a lot of this stuff, and I feel like maybe 50% of the cases of people saying it's uncomfortable is people not wearing the headset properly, because you do need to get that thing down lower than you would expect. The
Dude,
back
it
part
was on the nape of my effing neck. I put it so low.
Well, Adam, you have an abnormally shaped head. Like you got a super flat head because there's not much brain going on in there.
Oh, nice.
But it's easy. Like it's easy to think you have it on right, but if you rotate it a bit, it's good. Now, I too thought like I had it really far down and things were looking good. But then when I put on my Pulse headset, because that thing goes over your ears, like you have to have room to fit in between the VR headset and your ears for the Pulse headset, like suction cup things to fit into. And so regardless of, I'll put it on, it'll be as comfortable as possible. I guess my ears are too high or something like that. Then when I put on the Pulse headset, it won't fit. And I have to like squeeze it in there. And then it pushes the headset up a little bit, or the VR headset up a little bit. So I think that is my biggest issue. Other than that, the comfort's usually pretty good, except for, and I mentioned it too, like, I get like forehead pain after I've played for like 3 or 4 hours or something like that. And I don't think it's entirely the headset, because it's the same kind of pain that comes along when I started getting nauseous playing Gran Turismo 7 like rally mode. And I think it was just a combination of like lack of sleep, dehydration, just not in a good condition to begin with. And now I'm putting my body through this VR thing. So I think that is like a precursor to like VR sickness for me. And I did have that sometimes when I played, well, it happened almost every time I played my VR1 with the Pulse headset. So it might be a Pulse headset thing that is like putting pressure here, that's not letting the thing sit properly. I don't know. But that being said, 4 hours is not, I do pretty good for 4 hours. It's not that bad.
Yeah. So a couple things. We've noticed some controller drift. You noticed it in Pavlov. I think when we played with Jay Brat, he noticed it. I never saw it in Pavlov, and I didn't have it until today when I saw it with Resident Evil 8. So I don't know if it's because we thought maybe it was just a Pavlov issue. But since I saw it in Resident Evil 8, it makes me a little suspect. Granted, I was not sweating, but I mean, Resident Evil 8 is pretty engaging. So
Yeah.
like I was gripping onto those puppies. So if it is a heat issue, that's something to be aware of. And that kind of sucks. I don't want to focus too much on some of this stuff. The eye tracking, well, when I played Res, very disappointing. I feel like so far we haven't had many games that utilized it super well. At least that I've played yet. I haven't
That
played
you
all the
noticed,
launch
you should
games
say.
yet.
Like, you don't notice the eye tracking for like Gran Turismo 7. You don't notice it's happening, but it's happening. That's why the game looks so good.
True. So the action part of the eye tracking, like Res, when
Yeah.
I wanted to lock onto the enemies, the box that there's a small box in which it worked really well if you were looking like straight ahead. But if you looked in the peripheral, it just wouldn't work, which is awful. I mean, it essentially ruins the entire game because there's enemies flying everywhere, right? It made my chair nearly useless because I was banking on being able to use my eyes to shoot people. Because when you're hanging vertically, you don't have a lot of range of motion. I can't move my head without excruciating pain. Ruined the whole thing. So we'll talk about Res next. But I had that issue. You saw the same thing though,
Well,
right?
I think it's a res that eye tracking thing. I think is a res issue because I think it's trying to simulate how a controller works, and I do think that control style also is like use the sense controllers and or eye tracking, and so it's going to use the eye tracking preferentially or something like that. But I think there's probably something in the settings you can do. There's also like a feature I think you could turn on for maybe eye tracking to make it work a little bit better, like the refresh rate of the eye tracking or something. I don't know. I'd have to look into it further. But considering some reviews are like eye tracking worked great for me, I don't know. But when it's behind the scenes or in the other games I played, eye tracking worked brilliantly. So it might just be a res thing.
Yeah, I think it definitely maybe could be, but worried me a little bit. The system knows when you put the headset on and off, which initially you're like, oh, that's cool, but it's not. Because if you ever need to, it happens to me to where I need to like scratch my head every now and then, like just with the headset,
Yeah.
enough pressure's on there. I just need to have an itch or something, or if I want to get a drink, or if I need to look somewhere else, I want to find a chair, anything. I start to take the headset off. It doesn't glitch, but it starts to send all that visual audio information to the TV. So there's a lag there. Now it's on the TV. Now I need to put the headset back on, and you can't turn the PlayStation on with the headset anymore. With the PSVR, I put the headset on, I clicked power, it booted the whole thing up. Now I could use the headset, put it on, click the power button until the cows come home. Nothing will happen. I have to use the sense controllers to hit the PlayStation button to turn it on. Why? So I don't really like those two things. They're very small, but how often you would do that for me is almost every single time I play VR. So it's really annoying. I see the reasons why they chose to develop it like that, but you need to get some more play testers, bro, because I don't like that as much.
I think it might just be a limit of the USB-C instead of like a HDMI or something like that. There's probably some technological reason why the headset can't turn it on for you, but
I don't know. The other thing I noticed, you mentioned it earlier, was the peripheral resolution. And I'm even noticing this in Resident Evil right now. When I have subtitles on, and if I'm looking right in front of me, or you pick up a book and it pulls up the words or that are in the book that you read. So right in front of me, resolution's incredible. But if I try to read again, like a book has words from left to right, kind of like a poem or whatever, I almost have to move my head to actually read them because they're so blurry. That I don't like. I
feel like that's an eye tracking issue. Like maybe you need to fix your eye tracking or reset your eye tracking or something. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I noticed it on Gran Turismo. I've noticed it on flat mode. I've noticed it on. So I can definitely try to redo that. I know other people have seen the same thing. I will gladly try it. But if not, that's something a software patch or something needs to fix, because that's a big deal, right? I mean, how many times are you looking not directly in front of you and I don't want to have to move my head? What's the whole point of having it if it's not going to work that well. I mean,
I've,
unless I don't
yeah,
know.
I've only noticed it in flat mode. I've never noticed like Gran Turismo 7, everything's sharp as day when I'm playing. I'm looking at my odometer down here, but I'm not moving my head. It's great. Everything's good. So I don't really notice it. I think it's you problem, Adam.
You haven't played a game where you really need to read stuff. Wait till you get in Resident Evil.
I
I
mean,
think you'll see what I'm saying.
those cars and keep going.
Yes. And then finally, I don't know why YouTube and Twitch and PlayStation hate each other, but in PSVR for a while, we were able, when we were streaming, to see chat. They had the chat box up. You can read the comment, was really nice. They got rid of that in PSVR. I was like, oh, okay, they'll bring that back in PSVR2, right? That's so handy. Nope, it's still not effing there. Horrible. Yes, I know you can turn text to speech on. It doesn't work well. It's like you're in the middle of gameplay. You're reading, or there's enemy, or not enemies, but NPCs or something talking to you. You can't understand what someone else is typing. And then if there's a typo or they say a word that isn't necessarily in the English language, it just doesn't work. So that fix everyone keeps trying to correct me on isn't a fix. It's a sucky like sidestep to a problem that just PlayStation needs to fix. I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah, I mean, if they can push trophy notifications and stuff like that, they should be able to push those kind of notifications too. I don't know why they don't have it. I'm going to burn through my complaints here, Adam, because we're running out of time on this segment. My biggest issue is every time I turn it on, it always tells me, oh, check the settings on your TV first. So I got to take the headset off, and I'm wearing the Pulse, so I got to take the Pulse off, then take the headset off, and then wait for my TV to come on if I haven't turned it on. And usually it's an issue of me not being in my play area or something like that. But then when I get back into the game, like basically I just turn it on so that it knows, oh, you're playing Gran Turismo, we don't care. Then I can put things back on. That's annoying. Upgrade modes are kind of confusing, right? I made sure all my Resident Evil 8 stuff was ready, but turns out I had to download another VR mode or something like that. The store is not very well organized to find the VR content. Took me forever to find the Song in the Smoke upgrade to my PS4 version, but I got it eventually, but it's not in the PS4 store, at least it wasn't then. This is kind of a nitpick. The headset feels kind of cheapish because there's so much plastic. I mean, it's kind of a good thing. Everything's lightweight, but it feels less like one solid unit in the way that the PSVR one did. I don't know. I'll probably get used to it. Just sometimes at first glance when I touch it, it feels almost like there's seams in the plastic where it's like, that might break. I don't know. The battery life on the controllers, they're not great. It's about 4 hours, and I'm probably not going to be playing games for much longer than 4 hours that require the DualSense, but it's about 4 hours, which isn't as long as maybe some people would want it to be, but it hasn't been a huge issue for me. Biggest thing for me is underutilized head haptics. It just... I want Rez to be vibrating my head every single time, you know? I don't want it to just be like a once in a while thing. I want to feel those haptics constantly. I think I felt it once in Gran Turismo 7 when I got in a really bad wreck, but I want to feel that every time my car jostles around. I want to feel those head haptics more. I want more of it. I haven't seen it in Tentacular yet. I know they did it. So I just want more of that. But the biggest thing is, this is really kind of a backwards negative. I need more sleep. There's too many games, and I'm just playing these games. I'm playing Gran Turismo 7 all the time, and I'm not getting enough sleep, and that makes it harder to play VR. But that being said, Adam, let's close out this segment so we can move on and talk about some games. That's what people want to hear.
The biggest complaint that I've heard from the viewers, the listeners, the people we've talked to is they need more Play PSVR2, the podcast. And that's why we're coming back with games, new, even more games, sales. It's going to be great. And we have a Song in the Smoke we're giving away. We'll talk to you at the end of the other F me.
Up, PSVR2 sluts. We are here to talk about the games of PSVR2. So, we thought this would be in segment 1, but we ran out of time, guys. We got more for you. We got more content that we can handle in a single segment. This segment is dedicated to the games that we've played since PSVR2 launched. There's a lot of games. There's a lot we haven't played yet. We will be getting to them in due time. But Adam, let's discuss what we have played. We have list here that we've gone through of what we've discussed. Some we've both played, some just one of us has played, but right out of the gate, First game I played was Rez. I know we talked about our first game. It just had to be Rez. I knew what to expect. I wanted to see how it looked. What were your first impressions of Rez, Adam?
And here's the thing, it's going to blow everyone's nips off right here. I know people think I'm a freaking enhance and Mitsuguchi slut, as you call us, but I have to admit, okay, I need to preface this. First of all, we aren't giving reviews yet. We're still playing them, whatever. So actually, no, I can give a review. I'm not going to, though. Rez is an incredible game. Rez in itself is a masterpiece and a soulful piece of art. So it's worth playing. But what I will say is if you have the PSVR version and you have played it, unless you just want to continue to play it year after year, it is not worth getting for the PSVR2. I was sorely disappointed that I paid $10 for the minuscule amount of upgrades that they provided. One, I'm disappointed there is no new area. There's no new gameplay. It's the exact same game. Nothing is added but these quote-unquote technology implementations. Rez already, to me, looked good. I don't think it looks much better because it already looked good. The haptics and the controller were pretty cool. In some songs, as it had the rhythm and the beat, the sense controller is kind of like beat with it, vibrated with it. The head haptics were virtually non-existent. Every now and then you got a little something, but they might as well not even added it. It was embarrassing. So when you add all of that together, it wasn't worth it, Alex. I was in my chair. The eye tracking, as I mentioned, didn't even work. So it just made it painful. It was still cool to be like mid-air and feeling like I was flying through. But the enjoyment of it came from Rez the game, not Rez the PSVR2 implementation or PSVR2 game. Personally, don't waste your money. Save your $10.
Did you play it without the sex chair? Like, did you just play it normally?
Yes.
Okay, well, here's my thing. When I first played it, I did notice that it was a lot sharper than it was before. Nothing game-changing, right? I mean, Rez isn't a super high-fidelity game in that sense, but I did notice that it popped a bit more. It might be due to the enhanced frame rate, might be due to just the sharper visuals, so it looked a lot better.
Might be in your head.
Might be in my head because it's been a while since I played it. The other thing I'll notice is I jumped right into Area X and I turned on the eye tracking for targeting because I wanted to see how that worked. As you mentioned, it's not working quite as well as we had expected. That in conjunction with Area X is like a 3D moving thing, and I think that was kind of fighting against how a controller would target. So the eye tracking made Area X a bit underwhelming. However, I did go back and play like the first area again, and I used the Sense controllers to aim, which you could use the Move controllers in the PSVR 1 version, but they weren't very good because it wasn't quite like you're pointing at where you want to hit, and you hit it. Instead, it was more along the lines of like you're just moving around and you're targeting that general, like you're painting the area in front of you. So the Sense controllers worked a lot better. I was pointing at the enemies I wanted to shoot, and I could shoot them. That worked very well. It got a bit funny sometimes because at least in normal Rez, when it's not the 3D Area X environment, but like it's that Star Fox type flow. When you move to like the side, the targeting seems to be kind of funny. I think it's just trying to come to grips with that, and there was ways to mitigate that. You can kind of swap which controllers doing the targeting. All in all, it worked really well. It's a new way for me to play Rez and enjoy it without getting a lot of issues. So I enjoyed that. Head haptics, again, you said was underutilized. It's like anytime you go to a different region, so it's like there's 10 zones in each level, right? When you do that zoom to the next zone, that's when the head haptic hits, but it's not very strong. I'd really like it if, like, when the bass kicked in, I would just feel like a very gentle vibration, like maybe that happens. I haven't played the full game yet. I just want to go through, and I want to go through Area X, because now part of the issue with Area X in the other version is that you can't turn around, right? I can't turn my body around to go to this other area. I have to be very careful about how I'm moving so that I can fly around, because that's how you navigate in Area X. Is that where you look is where you're going to fly, and you pull down the R trigger and you fly in that direction. Now that we can move around, that works a lot better. All that said, if you didn't like Res to begin with, you're probably not going to like it now. But if you did like Res, I think you're probably going to like it that smidge more. But to me, the whole reason to pay the $10 is just so I can still have Res in my library, still play it again when I want to. Like, that's a big point for me. I want to be able to pop into Res once every couple of months and just burn through all the areas and just relive that experience. It's something I love to replay over and over again. So I'm happy to pay $10 to have that. Maybe it'll go on sale for the upgrade at some point. Maybe you can buy a bundle of Tetris Effect and Res for $10. Like, it's a small price to pay for me to not have to bust out my PSVR or get some other headset set up to play Res Infinite. I'll gladly pay $10 to just have it readily available again as I need it, which I've done in the past when I bought the digital version, even though I had a physical copy. I didn't want to have to deal with the disc. I could just load it up. There we go. So it's a very small price to pay to get. It's still the best version of the game. It's still better than the PSVR 1 version. It's the best version of Res Infinite. So I think it's recommended. Yeah.
I wouldn't, but what I would do is a $5 add-on for Thumper has gone, in my opinion, wildly under the radar. I thought it could be cool, but I also kind of wanted to jump into Thumper. This, of all the games that I feel like we've played, has used the head haptics and the head rumble the best. So, Thumper, have you played some, Alex?
Yeah.
It is, first of all, the game is just so invigorating and engaging. And we always talk about how you feel that hopelessness and like that dread, that's there. And in my opinion, even more so, because as I mentioned before, you are so ingrained in the game and you don't know anything of what's going around you because it does such a good job of immersing you, especially with the head haptics, with the controllers now, the sense controllers. It's just incredible. $5, it's wonderful. You have to play it. It is, I think, in my opinion, a must play. $5 is so freaking cheap, man. Do the upgrade. It almost totally makes it a brand new game. Like, it is so good, Alex. I don't want to like keep harping. We need to move on. I love it. It's really good. I highly recommend that $5 upgrade it. It will be a different game for you. And it's funny how it was one of the best PSVR launch titles. I'm going to argue right now, it's one of my favorite PSVR 2 launch titles now.
I don't know what the whole idea of it being like a totally different game is coming from because the mechanics are still the same. However, I will say that the vibration, all told, everything involved, does make it a more immersive experience. It makes when you have success and you hit one of those buttons and it sends it along the path, that vibration really resonates everywhere, and that makes it a more like haptic experience in a good way.
So you don't think that, to me, that added an element that changed the game? Like before, I was like,
how does it change?
Right?
How does it change how the game works? Like, it doesn't.
No, it's not the fundamentals of the buttons and crap, but the way it makes you feel and see the game. Whereas before, I was like, okay, I got my timing right, whatever. Now, like, I'm in it. Like, I feel that I succeeded. And to me, that is a completely different experience, which is why I'm saying it's like a brand new game.
See, this is so mind-boggling to me, Adam, because Res, you now have the ability to use the Sense controllers to aim as opposed to the DualShock, and that's not game-changing to you.
No,
but
because
Thumper,
it sucked. It wasn't utilized well.
It was, but Thumper, which is inherently the exact same game, just with stronger vibration and new areas, is somehow changing the entire game for you. I don't understand it. However, I will agree with you that it is one of the best titles on PSVR 1. And because it's carried over to PSVR 2 and the graphics are sharper, the refresh rate is higher. So again, everything really pops. The HDR in there, the colors really are vibrant. All that stuff in there does make the game feel like, a true like remastering of the original game, which is already like a PSVR classic. So I'm, $5, again, a small price to pay to make sure that game's still in my library, a small price to pay for these new enhancements. And the better blacking out of the external environment with this new headset, makes the immersion of that game even better. The faster refresh rate makes the timing feel much better. So it's brilliant. It works great. and it's an awesome game made more awesome. And $5 is a very low price to just get that upgrade. Now, I don't know what the price is for the game. Just if I were to just buy it outright, probably around $20 or something like that. Most people probably got it for free on sale. Yeah, it's an easy win, and it's definitely worth the $5 to just go. If anything, pay $5 to give yourself a reason to go through this game again because it's such a wonderful game.
Dude, so there's 9 levels, and each level there are subsections. The game is thoroughly enjoyable up until the midsection of level 8. That's when crap just gets so insane that then I'm just so stressed out, and you have to concentrate so hard, and your mind and your body is trying to take in so much so fast that, in my opinion, it's just not enjoyable anymore at that point. But thankfully, it's meant to be a difficult game. You got 1.5 levels to deal with that crap. I've beat it. I recommend it highly.
I will say the DualSense makes it a lot better than the DualShock 4 did. The DualSense feels a lot better to play the game with than the DualShock did. So that's a nice.
Do you mean the Sense controllers?
I didn't use the Sense controllers. I used the DualSense to play it.
Oh, why wouldn't you use the Sense controllers?
Because I'm not waving anything around when I'm playing Thumper. I'm just...
Dude, it's so much more comfortable just to sit back with your arms by your side like a chimpanzee, or you could use the extra fingers to scratch yourself, or you there's so... Trust me, try it, dude. It feels really good. It's nice.
What are you doing when you're playing Thumper? You're thumping away. Okay, go on to the next game, Adam.
Pavlov is a game I was really excited for because it uses a lot of these next level technologies, and they do. I feel like it's pretty good. My issues with Pavlov. So first of all, I'll talk about how good it is. I've had a wonderful time spending time in game with some of our buddies, shooting, playing the different games. I really enjoyed I forgot what the official name is, the prop game where you can choose to be a prop and then they have to find you. That is thoroughly...
It's hide and seek. It's like hide and seek in VR. Yeah,
absolutely entertaining. Absolutely enjoyed it. The trader game where you had to convince, hey, I'm not the traitor, I promise. That was fun. Of course, pretty much every time it just ended up being a shootout.
But it was hilarious. Yeah, I mean, that was fun because I think that's a game that requires a lot more people. We had like 4 people, so it was pretty obvious. Like, okay, that guy's obviously the detective, so that means you are probably the traitor because these 2 guys, one guy's a mercenary. You can see what gun he has. Like that kind of stuff in there kind of messes with it a bit. But even then, it was funny when like you and I went into the lobby and you shot at me because you were being goofy. And now I'm thinking like, wait, is he the traitor or is it just Adam being a turd? And it just made for really fun times. So that was fun.
Yeah,
I was surprised.
I remember one time Alex dropped. I think So the issue I have with Pavlov is the game itself. They try to be too fancy with the buttons, and so if you press R1, which is not the trigger button on the controller, but kind of the finger.
The middle finger button.
Yeah. It drops the gun. Horrible design, because when you're shooting, it's like you're in freaking virtual reality. Well, guess what? When I have a real gun, and I'm shooting, it's not just my one finger that clutches and moves. My whole hand grips harder. So guess what? I drop the gun all the time, but so does Alex. So we were playing. He accidentally dropped the gun once. I picked up the gun. He didn't have a gun. So
I didn't accidentally drop it, but okay. Yeah.
Chase me. Oh, we laughed so hard. That was wonderful. That was the best life. That's the best moment of my life right there. It was wonderful. So my Pavlov itself worked well. Forming a party worked. I played single player and multiplayer. Both worked well. I like the gameplay variety. I haven't played all the maps, but I feel like there's enough there that you won't get bored with it quickly. My biggest issue was just the intricacy of the controllers, man. Like you have to do 4 things to load your gun, and every gun loads differently. So some of them you've got to push out the magazine and put the new one in. Each one has a different place that you need to cock the gun before you shoot and before you as you reload. And I understand it's cool that it's realistic to each gun, but when there's 80 guns, it's too painful to learn how all of those work and to do it in such a fast manner because the game is fast paced, right? It's dynamic. So every time I die when I'm reloading, once I run out bullets, I might as well just kill myself because I'm gonna die. And then I give Alex the satisfaction of killing me. Well, I freaking screw around reloading my gun like a bear cub does his dink. It's really aggravating. But that's not a PSVR issue. That's a Pavlov issue.
So don't do what Adam did. Adam jumped into to Pavlov without playing the tutorial, which I highly recommend. Play it. It's short. It's like 20 minutes or something like that. It shows you how everything works. And then Adam, the first game he jumped into was Gun Game, which is it's a deathmatch version of Pavlov, which is not supposed to necessarily be a deathmatch game. And the way it works is anytime you kill somebody, it automatically switches you to a next gun. So Adam had no chance to build up a familiarity with how the guns work. Now, Pavlov, like these other military simulator shooters that are like team deathmatch or kind of mission based, the design is that like you have your favorite loadout. You're not going to be confused how the gun works. You're going to know this is how I reload this gun because this is the gun I use every single time I play. So that issue doesn't seem to exist. And it's almost like Adam's upset that Pavlov is too realistic. It's too much reality in his virtual reality. Adam plays every game frantically. He can't play a game slow paced. So like the best moments of Pavlov when we played some of the bombing missions where one team has to set a bomb, the other team has to defuse the bomb. And after I iced Adam, me and the other team were in an intense shootout in like the wreckage of a building, shooting through windows, leaning around corners, like firing off a couple shots, checking to make sure I had enough ammo, firing off a couple more, every bullet's counting, that kind of thing. So if you're into a realistic competitive shooter, like Pavlov's going to be your thing because it's extremely stressful to be in a shootout and suddenly, oh crap, I got to reload. Find cover, duck down. Can they still see me? Is somebody behind me to back me up while I reload? That kind of stuff you work out. So it's going to be like that intense thing. Now, my biggest issue with Pavlov is, I didn't have issues with the controls. I didn't have issues with accidentally dropping guns. The guns are confusing in Gun Game if you're not familiar with it, but that's fine. My biggest issue is a lot of the really good guns that you're going to be using are two-handed weapons. And it's not terribly uncomfortable, but it's almost impossible to look down the scope of a rifle when you have two hands floating here because you have the two sense controllers. So it really made me miss my aim controller. I don't even know how they would do it with the sense controllers, but I really wished I had an aim controller so that I could at least have a stock that I could load up and then look through or something like that. Because the way it works is you have a two-handed weapon. If you don't put that second hand on there, then when you shoot the gun, it just kicks wildly. So what you do is you hit the grip of your left hand to stabilize it with your left hand, and then you can more or less aim with just your right hand. So if I could get a stock for the right hand, that would work a lot better for me. And it seems like something you could probably 3D print to make it work well. But I loved Pavlov. I can't wait to play more of it. There's a huge amount of variety in the game modes, which is very welcome. You're not waiting in the lobby forever. When you're dead, you can fly around the map. That's really fun. There's just a lot of fun to be had. Find your group of people to play with. I haven't gone into the stranger space to play with strangers who are probably going to blow me away, but you can turn off crossplay, right? So if you want to get all these PC guys out of the picture who are like masters of the game, just play with newbies on PSVR2, you can do that. But crossplay being there is a huge incentive to play this game as well. The user base is always going to be there. That's awesome. So I have tons of great things to say about Pavlov, but we'll go ahead and move on to RE8, Adam, and you can have free reign because I have not even touched this game yet.
Dude, this is next freaking level. From the first VR tutorial that it puts you in, you realize, oh crap, I'm in it now, boy. It is amazing. And the same stuff I complained about Pavlov, the same issue is in Resident Evil. So I guess I just need to acknowledge that I can't just reload an effing gun anymore. I have to do 58 very strict steps in a row, and if I miss one of them, I'm dead, regardless of the game I'm playing. But I will admit, it is more immersive. It is more realistic. I will admit that. So it is what it is. Hopefully, they all use the same control scheme. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare with all of these gun games if they are slightly different. But Resident Evil 8, I'm only maybe 2.5 hours in. It looks really good. It is really immersive with those sense controllers because, again, when you shoot, you have to reload. You have to grab the hip and the knife and what's behind your back. And just the way they organized it is in such a way that it's exceedingly immersive. They right now the game is a little bit more action based, which I would rather it be horror based, but I think I'm getting there. I'm now in the castle where Big Booby Ruby is. So I think this is where things are going to start to take a turn. And the only issues I have with the game aren't, again, they aren't PSVR related. It's like one thing I hate about Resident Evil is that they give you a boss battle and they're like, we'll just change the effing rules and won't tell you anything, and we'll let you die 3 or 4 times, and then you'll get aggravated and you'll look up how to beat the boss online so you can actually beat the boss. I hate that. For example, the first boss that I've encountered, it's this lady made of roaches, and I don't want to ruin too much of it for you, Alex, but I saw her. It's clearly a boss battle. And so I unloaded all of my shotgun, all of my handgun, and I've stabbed her tons of times. I've used all my health. She hasn't died. So it makes me think there has to be something else. They have some clever BS way of killing her, but there's no fire around. There's not really any escape. So I don't know what to do. And I hate that. Why? Give us a hint. Don't That's a Resident Evil problem. All the Resident Evils have that. Freaking Resident Evil, what was the one you told me to play, Alex? 4?
2.
The one that 2 freaking sucked. They had the same thing. All Resident Evils are like that. It's really annoying. That's a Resident Evil problem, not a PSVR problem. But the game looks really good. It's really creepy. Again, this is where it's really nice to have the room scale, to where one of my favorite things I've done in the game was I ran out of ammo and these Sam Squanches came after me. Well, normally I would be like, well, I'm screwed. You know what? I said F it. I just, what do you call it? I squared up and I took them to the corner and I boxed them and I punched them to death. Did it take a long time? Was I sweating? Was I a little out of breath? Yeah, but it was awesome. Because I actually gripped my hands with the controllers. It made a fist in the game. I actually punched him. And then I was able to quickly grab my knife, stab him in the throat, punch him some more, rinse and repeat for like 4 Sam Squanches. Until again, I realized you weren't supposed to fight them. You were supposed to find an outlet and run away. But it's why I hate that game. I hate that. But either way, I had an awesome time. Like, I loved doing that, and it felt immersive. It felt right. It felt like I was there. That's what VR is about. That's why Resident Evil is great. Not perfect. When it goes into like the cutscenes, they're still in VR, but it's pretty jank. There's some ironing out they need to do. They're probably not going to do it now. The game is what it is. But overall, great game. Alex, I can't wait for you to play it.
When you punched them, were there haptics for like landing the punch? Like when that punch lands, do you feel vibration or something? Like, I guess, did the punching feel good? Because I did punching in Skyrim, and it was a lot of like shadow boxing, just like punching, and there's no feedback, and I'm just throwing my arms, and I had fun, but it just felt like a disconnected experience. Did it?
As you mentioned before, I play everything frantically, so I was punching like a speed bag. And I was like so immersed in, I was taking 3 Sam Squanches on at a time. So I don't even know, I'm going to be honest. And they might have, but I don't know. I was too into it.
The fact that you're into it kind of sells it in that sense. But it sounds really cool to me that you like were able to punch and then be like, oh, I'm going to grab the knife, stab him, and then keep punching. Like, that's a really cool thing to just come up naturally when you're playing. That shows how immersive the experience is. They showed punching in the trailer, which makes me think that like it's an expected element of how this combat can work.
Maybe that's what they need to do with the roach lady. Just punch her.
Yeah, maybe that's what sometimes that's the case. Yeah, I can't wait to play it, but there's so much on our docket, so I know I'm going to play it at some point. But now it's one of those things where like a game is great, so you don't play it because you want to save it for like the right time when you can really invest in this great game. I just need to bite the bullet and just play it now, but we'll see. Moving on, Gran Turismo 7. Here's a theme you're going to notice with Adam is he hates great games for being great. Pavlov is too realistic of a realistic shooter. Resident Evil 8 is too Resident Evil of a Resident Evil game. Gran Turismo 7 is too much of a driving simulator. So let me lead off with Gran Turismo 7. This is the game that I played the most. when I want to just play a game, I'm playing Gran Turismo 7 in VR. Like I get tired of playing something else. I sit down in my chair. I set my DualSense controller in my hands. I put the VR headset on, and I just burn through some Gran Turismo 7, and it is spectacular. The driving feels great. Rally racing, Formula One racing, even like the license tests and stuff. It's all fun in VR, and I've gone back and played in flat again, and it's so much harder to play in flat because you don't have the depth perception. VR is a game changer for how these things feel. Taking corners, passing cars. You know, you're drafting off somebody and you pass around them. It's so much easier in VR because you have that depth perception and it's seamless, right? Like you don't. Every once in a while you see some pop in, but it's like video game pop in, not pop in because you're in VR. It's pop in just because of how the game works. It's so realistic looking. But man, here's what it's done. It's made me appreciate my normal car because at the beginning you're driving normal cars around these racetracks and pushing them to their limits. And it makes me excited when I drive my normal car around. It's like, oh yeah, I'm driving a car again. This is what it's like to drive a car. All cars are cool. The interiors of all these cars are real to life. It's fun to sit in the VR showroom of like a super high-end fancy new Porsche and you see, oh, that's interesting. The handbrake's on the left-hand side next to the door and the, speedometers down here as opposed to up here. They all have their own heads-up display. And the other cool thing is you don't have a HUD like you do in Gran Turismo flat mode. So you have to look around the car to know how fast you're going. You have to look around the car to know what gear you're in, how much fuel you have, things like that. It's just it's incredible. It's a system seller for a reason. It is the reason to get a PSVR2, I think. And even Adam doesn't like Gran Turismo and he enjoys it in VR. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of stuff. The things I'll say additional to that is in virtual reality, it does totally change the game. I don't enjoy the game, but I enjoy the VR aspect. So what I did is I turned all of the noises off. F it. I don't want to hear an engine roar. I don't effing care. I turned the background music all the way up. So when you're tired or when you just played freaking Thumper for like an hour and you're buzzed out of your mind and you want to cool it down, this is a game that's really relaxing to get in, race a little bit. It's kind of mindless, but you can appreciate the speed, the competitiveness of it, and it's really good. Multiplayer aspect works really well, especially when you have the fastest car. I toast them. Also, the game is very difficult. At least for me, I don't try to learn how to drive. I'm never going to drive a supercar. So I don't want to learn how to take all the freaking curves correctly and what lines I have to take. I don't want to do that. I want to go fast. I want to bump into people. I want to play bumper cars. It won't let me do that, but whatever. It is what it is. It's still a great game. It's still a must buy because I have people coming over on Thursday. It's the first game I'm going to be like, you know what? Sit down, try this, and their mind, I'm certain, is going to be blown. This game makes me want to buy a racing wheel because I have to think that is a game changer and will make you just blow your nips off. Okay, Kayak VR Mirage. I already posted a review of it. Great game. I was very impressed with the gameplay variety. You can do a tour mode, you can race, you can kind of just go and explore. There's a bunch of animals, a bunch of different areas and locations to explore. My favorite was in the storm. If you turn, I forgot which, I don't remember the geographical location, but you turn on a storm, it looks incredible. Like it probably is the prettiest game in the launch library. It looks absolutely incredible. Another one of those games that you can go in, relax in, just there's tons to explore. There's caves in Antarctica. There's hunchback whales in the ocean or in the sea. There's a jungle. There's a lot to explore. Believe it or not, I fully expected to say it wasn't worth $23. Wait for a sale. I gotta admit, it really is worth $23. It didn't work for me when I sat in my kayak, but it works well if you're standing up or in a chair. So note that. We gotta move on. Alex, I want to know what you think about Horizon quickly.
Yeah, I played Horizon for like an hour, so it's really just like the introductory thing. You go right through the canoe. That was an awesome experience, seeing these big giant machine animals walking around. You get a really good sense of scale, and then before you know it, you're climbing. So that's a lot of people's issues. You're doing a lot of climbing in this game. The climbing's fun. It works really well. The one issue is like when you do a lot of lateral climbing, like you're just moving along the side, it's kind of annoying because it's like I can only reach so far, and there's not like a stamina to worry about. So it's just like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Let me just repeat this motion over and over again. It is kind of breathtaking at times. You're climbing and looking down. There's a big drop and stuff like that. The one issue is I end up bumping my controllers into each other. I'm afraid I'm going to break them as I'm trying to do like this hand over hand as I'm climbing. They get near each other. I did some of the, you do fight a boss, and the boss fights are like restricted in the sense that you can kind of just strafe side to side. But really, when you fight these kind of fights, that's what you would be doing anyways. It would be nice to have free movement, but there's no real lock-on mechanism. So I don't know. But I was able to fight some enemies outside of a boss encounter with free range movement and stuff. So that was fine. The game is visually stunning. Obviously, it's like the best looking game, except for maybe Gran Turismo 7, maybe. And then the archery works really, really well. Although, again, bumping into my headset as I pull back too far on the bow. I just need to train myself to pull back less. But the archery works really well. It's super fun. Has a lot of the weird, VR doodads. Like, oh, there's a bucket. I can pick the top off, or I can grab fruit and eat the fruit, or light a torch and then throw it, or something like that's. That's not exciting in VR anymore, but you can do it. But it's just a beautiful game, and I don't think I'm going to be bothered by the fact that it's like 6 to 8 hours long. I don't think it has the legs to go that long, and it is an expensive game. It's probably the most expensive game out right now for the PSVR2, but it's showing off what you need to show off, and it seems like it's going to be more than worth its money when I get to the end of it. So I'm more than happy to play it. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Then finally, you played Tentacular too, and this I'm waiting to see if I should buy or what you think about it.
I've played it for about an hour. Again, I can't give like a full assessment of it. The big question about Tentacular, right, is like how much time are you going to get out of Tentacular? I will say everything worked mostly really well. I mean, the visuals are great. This was the first game that sold me on eye tracking. It's one of the first ones that used eye tracking. They tell you right out of the gate, like, oh, tap these people on the head to talk to them. And I was like, okay, that's a bit clunky, but I'll do it. And then after you do that a couple times, they're like, oh, by the way, you could just look at somebody and hit the button to talk to them. And I was like, that's not going to work well. And then I glanced at somebody and the button appeared next to him. I was like, oh, wow, this is great. So talking to all these little people running around the town, I just look at them and hit the button, they're talking to me. Look at them, hit the button, they're talking to me. Works so good. The game, very charming. The graphics are relatively simple, but they're sharp and they're crisp. So there's nothing that you're really losing there. It's just a lot of character in the design. It's, you're doing things like clean up the town, pick up these things, put them over there, pick up these things, throw them over there. If you grab something with your, like the far end of your tentacles, you're weaker, but you can grab things from further away. If it's something heavy, each thing has like a heaviness to it. If something's heavy, you got to use like the meat of your tentacle closer to your arm to pick that up. There were some situations where it's like clunky to pick something up and get it rotated right to fit into a slot, but that's part of the challenge of the game is that you have these wonky tentacles flopping around and stuff like that. There was a part like you can start to feel the sense of a story of like, how do I belong? How do I fit into the city? Which is going to be fun. It's kind of tongue in cheek because like obviously you're a squid. But then towards the end, like the music kicked in and the music was really good, and I was really feeling everything that was going on. I had to move on to play another game, but I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a simple game, but it's a fun game. So I feel like I'm going to be recommending it, but I won't. I'll hold my breath for now. I'm having a good time with it though. They do a lot of clever design stuff of like easy to reset the level if you feel like you mess things up. Easy to adjust the settings and stuff like that. A lot of settings in there you can configure to get things exactly how you want, and everything just kind of works really well. There was one moment where my tentacle got stuck in like a small space and I had to like yank it out, and it was stretching, and that was kind of just a weird game glitchy type thing that they'll probably hammer out in future bug fixes. But I had a really fun time with it, so it's good stuff.
Yeah, I want you to hold your breath because we've got one more segment break. We are coming back with some news. I'm going to talk about the Collective Minds PSVR2 display stand. We are giving away a Song in the Smoke code to one person who roasted us real good, or I guess roasted the PSVR rather. So stay tuned. We will talk to you at the other side of the break.
Welcome to segment 3 of Play PSVR2, the podcast, episode 109, PSVR2 impressions. And for this last segment, we're going to talk about the winners of the roast, or I guess the winner of the roast. And then we're going to go over some news. There was a state of play, which had a lot of VR stuff just kind of thrown at the front. So we'll discuss those. Adam wants to talk about his headset holder and some flat games for whatever reason. Then we got a couple sales we're going to hit up, and we'll be done. All right, we got to get back to playing some games. So right out of the gate, let's talk about the roast winner. I will say thank you to everybody that submitted roasts. They were wonderful. They were much better than our roasts, I think. So thank you for doing that. Oh, no, you're right. They were much better than your roasts, Adam. But we randomly selected a winner. It's hard to choose from these things. Adam and I have different tastes. We randomly selected one, and our winner for the Song in the Smoke code for PS5, PSVR2 is BGreen999. What does the original PSVR and Adam's mom have in common? They both get me super hot. How does that make you feel, Adam?
That was actually a pretty good one. I'm a big fan. I also wish that Super Hot were on the PSVR 2. That's got to be coming though, right? An update, I hope. But dude, that was a good one. I will give him credit. Well done, well earned. I hope you enjoy Song in the Smoke.
Yeah, it was a good one. We don't have time to read them all. Go to YouTube, read the comments. That's where most of them were. You'll see them there, and you'll have a good little chuckle. But moving on, Adam, there was a state of play this past week. Mostly was covering Suicide Squad, that DC Rocksteady game, which maybe looks okay. People aren't liking it. Whatever. There was VR up at the front. They showed us trailers. We had 6 games shown. 5 of them were new. One of them was kind of a known entity already. Right out of the gate, Journey to Foundation. This was a game that we didn't know about. This is being made by, who's making this? In Dreams? No. Archiact, longtime developer of PSVR games. Adam, I'm going to ask you this, and you're certainly going to say no. Have you ever read Foundation by Isaac Asimov?
Yeah, it was in 1961 he wrote it?
Son of
no, I haven't freaking read it, you numbskull.
I love Foundation. It's one of my favorite books that I've ever read. So I'm super excited to see
so
something.
What's it about? Because here's the thing. All of these games, you were like, we need to talk about the games. And I'm like, I don't care. None of these even raise any type of excitement level for me. What is Foundation about? Just very broadly.
The story of Foundation is that humanity's conquered space, right? And so they're all in these civilized places.
What is up with you in the space games, man?
Anyways, moving forward, humanity's conquered space, but a guy a long time ago ran statistics on psychology and stuff and realized that, hey, society works in this way. There's definitely going to be a fall of the universal empire. Here's what you're going to do to preserve humanity to go through that fall. And it's people going, it's snapshots in time as you go through these steps and fast forward through how the humanity is falling and how they're being recovered because people are following the plans of the Foundation, who are inspired by this guy who set the wheels in motion to keep humanity safe. Now, it's not really conducive. If you read the books, it's not conducive to this would be a great video game. But there's already an adaptation on Apple TV that people seem to like. This seems to be just a smaller story of that kind of leverages some of the information from one of the scenes of Foundation. I honestly don't know how they're going to turn this into a game, but it looks like a first-person kind of stealth game that has some moral choices and stuff like that. There's also some telekinesis, which is a bit, or telepathy type stuff, which is a bit of a thing that took place in Foundation.
It was 1951.
Yeah, I thought you were reading the Wikipedia of it. Yeah, it's an old book, but it's a good book.
Oh, I was so close. I just can't trust you, Alex, because you like these games that just. I'm glad you're here. We have different taste in games.
You have bad taste, and I have good taste. Yeah.
No, that's not true. And so I hope you like it. It doesn't get my blood pumping, but one thing I am excited for, Green Hall VR. I'm surprised.
Green Hell VR, but yeah.
F me, Green Hall VR. We very surprisingly don't have many horror games. I mean, horror games are about what made PSVR. That was most of the launch lineup. And
I don't know.
We don't really have any, and I want them hard.
I don't know that that's going to be a horror game. Honestly, it looks like something very similar to Song in the Smoke. And this is a game that's already out in flat versions, but it's like a survival game. But yeah, you are being hunted by things in the jungle.
I'll take it.
people were excited about it when it came out. They were hoping a VR version would come out. Now the VR version's coming, so it's something to look forward to. We got Song in the Smoke in the meantime, so I'm not really desperately looking or needing Green Hell VR, but apparently it's coming. So let that.
Yeah, that is true. Like if they're too similar, then I mean, I'm playing Song in the Smoke. I'm playing that. So then that's going to rub me the wrong way when they have this game that's super similar. Whether it's better or worse, I don't want to play essentially the same game back to back, right?
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. So the next game, what did you think about Synapse?
I thought it looked very stylish. It looked like a fast-paced first-person shooter type game. Like because the enemies are frozen, you're moving like in bullet time or something like that. That was cool. The graphical choices look nice. I mean, the HDR is making some of those colorful elements pop in contrast to the more muted colors in the rest of the environment. In Dreams is a good company. They made Fract, which played very well on the PSVR one. It was very.
They also made Shooty Fruity.
They got hired by Sony after making Fract, so I think they just needed money to make their development better. So I'm looking forward to what In Dreams makes. I'm looking forward to Synapse now that they are officially part of the PlayStation Studios family. They have the money to push and make a really good game like they do with Fract. So I'm looking forward to it. They're not going to have the issues they had with Fract of like tracking and crappy controllers. It's just going to be a fun, good, stylish first-person shooter game that's not hindered by lackluster technology. So I'm down with that. I mean, all these games are first-person shooter type games, but that does really well in VR, and so I'm excited to see more of it. We don't really know too much about it. I'm just excited that there's games that I can look forward to once I get through this massive queue that I've already built up.
Yeah, this just doesn't. It doesn't do much for me. Like it could be. It looks like a game that will be good, but nothing that after I'm done, a year after I play it, I'm gonna be like, man, Synapse. And with the PSVR 2, that's what I'm looking for now. I'm looking for a Gran Turismo 7. I'm looking for maybe a Song in the Smoke. I'm looking for a Resident Evil 8. Things that are going to last with me, not these like good games that are forgettable. And there's so many that it just looks like one of those games. Like there's nothing really unique about it. Oh, they added a little telekinesis. Great. Well, so did Control. I know that's not a PSVR game, but like, come on, give me something unique, man.
I think that's a fair because I mean that's the big argument is where are the AAA games, and none of these games specifically look AAA. Maybe at best they're AA, but a lot of them feel like indie-ish type games. Next game on the list is Foglands. This was the first game that was announced. This had like Borderlands vibe to it with like the pseudo alien western type stuff going on, but really it looks like a roguelike first-person shooter type game, which I'm down for that. I love that kind of stuff where you replay, but the experience is different every time, and you have like these tarot cards or something that adjust how you're going to be playing the game. So I guess they're buffs and weaknesses or something. That reminded me of what was that game? It's a card game that had action. I really loved it. Reminded me of that horrible.
A VR game?
Not a VR. A game I wished was in VR, but it wasn't in VR.
The Yoko Taro card game?
Not at all. But anyways, this game looks like it has a bit of a stylish element rather than trying to be realistic, which is always nice. I appreciate when that's done. The gunplay looked good. The environment was intriguing. So I have high hopes for this game. But again, it's not a AAA game. It's just going to be another one of those games that's fun to play for 5 to 10 hours, and then you move on to the next one like you're suggesting.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't want AAA titles. I just want something unique that's different, that doesn't look like everything else. Unlike Synapse, this looks different. The PlayStation blog said it's a Western sci-fi roguelike.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never seen a Western in sci-fi. That's interesting. I'll take it. The buffs and things add replay value. Like, this has more potential to me than Synapse does. Everyone does the modernistic telekinesis shooting thing. I'll definitely play this.
This might have legs to it in the same way Persistence has legs to it, Adam, if that makes you feel better. Like instead of horror, it's more action, but it's that same kind of like game flow of the Persistence, I think.
Big time. Then there's Before Your Eyes VR, which I'm not going to lie, I was a little confused because you've already been able to pre-order this. Yeah. So this wasn't like a surprise. And I'm wondering if like if this game is good, what's the background? Why are they highlighting this again? Like,
This is a really critically acclaimed, very artistic game that got a lot of
Oh
buzz when it
gosh.
was released for like PC. You played it on PC. You had to have a webcam so it could look at your eyes that way, and that's how you control it. Um,
Oh, you told me about this game and it actually does sound dope.
Yeah, it's only like 90 minutes long or something like that. So it's, I think it's $15 to pre-order it. So, buyer beware, you're not going to get like a huge experience, but it is one of those games that's like everybody must play it just because it's such an ingenious game design. So I think the reason they put it in the state of play, even though it was already announced officially on the blog with a bunch of other games, was that it was kind of buried under all that information. This is a game that they know, casual non-VR gamers have heard about but haven't had a chance to play because they don't have a PC. Now they can play this game and they get the best version in VR because the game's like an emotional game, right? And these interactions are going to make way more sense and be much more immersive and emotional in VR. So I think that's what they put in the state of play. Is like, hey, you know that game you heard about? Guess what? It's on PSVR2 now, so you should get it and play it that way. I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be a system seller, but me, when I heard it was coming to PSVR2, I was like, bam, I'm on it. I'm playing that for sure.
Yeah, I think now that you jogged my memory and you've described it to me, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to play it. Although, gosh, man, I don't know. These like emotional, the way you set up the table, you could have been marketing for this studio because it seems like something that is gonna rock you emotionally. And right now you can pre-order it for $13.49. I
Yeah.
mean, that's as cheap as you're gonna get a PSVR2 title. So I mean, if you're at all interested, you need to do it. I think I'm gonna try it. Uh gosh, I just gotta prepare to get freaking wrecked though. Like some of these people who do the emotional thing well, it can be rough, man. And it sounds it
Get ready to
sounds
cry in your headset. Yeah.
like when you start like talking about life and death, like actual life experiences, not within the game's world, but you can relate it to your own. Oh, dude, woof. Okay, tell me why you're so excited about humanity because I'm not buying the upgrade for Tetris Effect because an enhanced boned me with res. If you can't impress me with res, you effed up. So I'm not getting the upgrade for Tetris Effect. Enhance is coming out with this new game, Humanity. You can play a demo, which I will do. I have not done yet. I heard it's like, what was that, Salaryman Escape? And I forgot.
Lemmings.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think about this game?
Well, I mean, the big thing is Mizuguchi. It's like his next game, right? Effectively, you are a little white dog walking around and guiding humans from one point to the other. So I guess you're trying to save humanity by guiding them to safety. And sometimes there's like other groups of humans that are trying to like fight them and stuff like that. It's probably like very puzzleish where you make sure they're flowing in the right direction, going in the right place. People are kind of down on it because it's like, yeah, this game's been done before. But I mean, in VR, it's probably going to be pretty fun to see these guys running around and you have tons and tons and tons of humans running through. It's just, that's the thing. Res is Star Fox in terms of game design. Tetris Effect is Tetris in terms of game design, but it's elevated by the stylistic choices that these guys have been making. So although it's a tried and true game design mechanic that we've all seen before, it's getting that Mizuguchi polish to it, that enhanced games polish to it, and they're giving it the VR treatment as a bonus. You can also make your own levels, which will probably be a lot easier in VR as opposed to doing it with just a dual sense on a TV. Share those levels with people so that you have, theoretically, if the game takes off, you have endless levels to play through. So that's why I'm excited about this. Again, I haven't played the demo either; just popped yesterday, and it's only there until you can only play it until like March 10th or something like that. So you get on it now, and it comes out in May, so it'll be coming out soon. But it's Mizuguchi's next thing. I'm pumped for it. I'm ready to do this. I want to see how this goes.
It's always worth playing a demo, right? So let's do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So next, I want to talk about I received my Collective Minds PSVR2 display stand, and it also charges the controllers. So I will say, you discussed how the Sense controllers, last about 4 hours. It's not very long. I know we're asking them to do a lot with these new games, so I'm not necessarily upset. But it's pretty annoying when you have to plug it into the PS5 rather to charge, and then you have two of them, so you have to use two of the holes, have two cords. Like it's not great. So I'm really glad it came in. And I made a video of it on the YouTube. You can review it there, actually see it in action. But the highlights are one, it really is very compact. It puts the headset and the controllers in a very small package that still looks stylish and modern. It fits the motif of the PS5 and the PSVR2. One thing I liked is that they have magnetic charging capabilities. So there is a little adapter that fits into the each controller, just like you would plug into the PS5, but that adapter is magnetic. So you put it in the controller, and then the magnet clips to the actual stand. That's how it charges. But the cool thing is that that adapter can stay in the controller because it's really teeny tiny. So you can play with it while that magnetic adapter is in there. Is that the same way they use the Sony charger?
So it's not magnetic, but it just kind of slots in there. Like the controllers only fit in there one way. This is the Sony charger, just for comparison to what Adam's talking about, because Adam's not showing you. It looks like goggles when it's set up. This is what the Sony one looks like. Actually, I think it is magnetic. So you can see, maybe you can't see with my camera. There's a little plug that you put into the USB-C port. You slot it in there, and it just connects. Yeah, slight magnetism, not too strong. And then you just set it in there, and it starts charging. I don't know. I think this works pretty well. Although I did let it sit to charge like overnight, and it just didn't charge because I guess I had them sitting in the wrong way. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe yours is better in that aspect. I don't know.
The so I like the magnet's pretty strong. Like it will definitely clip in. There's also a light on the front of it that it turns like that orange when you're charging
Oh,
your DualSense, so you can see if it's working. Then when it's blue, it means it's fully charged. And there's no light if you take the controllers out, in case it's like in your room and you don't always want a blue light or something. But I really like the fact that now I have a headset stand. I like that I can charge the controllers. That's really nice. It's $43 with shipping included there. So it's cheaper than the Sony version. I'm like, I'm happy I got it. So far, it's worked wonderfully. Really glad it's part of the collection. It's brought the room together. And now again, I don't have to freaking use those stupid little cords to charge. Alex, let's cover some sales. Start with the PSVR 2. No Man's Sky is $29.99. Hopefully, a lot of you got it for free or got it for dirt freaking cheap back in the day. But if you haven't, it's $29.99. Pre-order this for PSVR 2. Pistol Whip is $26.99. You haven't played this. I know you have it, Alex, but you haven't got a chance yet, right?
yeah. All the reviews for the PSVR 2 version are like raving. People are just like, this is. First of all, the game's great, but this is the best version of the game. So sounds like a good deal. It was a lot cheaper before the upgrades came out. Now the upgrades are out, and you missed the boat. So there you go.
Well, I don't really trust you because you told me the same thing about After the Fall. Now it's on sale for $25.49. Now I am interested in this, but I want you to play it first to see. The thing is, we have all these shooters coming out, right? We have Pavlov, we have After the Fall, we have Firewall Ultra coming out soon. We have Sierra, or was it Crossfire Sierra Squad, or whatever it is. Like, but so I don't want to buy all four, and then we find one that's the best, and we only play that, and then I wasted my money on the other two or three. So I'm depending on you to play the freaking game. Tell me if it's worth it, or maybe you already know. I don't know.
Knowing you after finding out how terrible you are at Pavlov and you hate the like realism, this is your game, Adam. And I'm disappointed you don't have it. You told me you'd buy it. You didn't buy it. We can't play together yet. It is four-player co-op, and you're going through levels and fighting waves of zombies, and then have a boss fight at the end. And you're like scrounging up, ammunition and stuff like that you find. And I play it with the aim controller. Works really well with the aim controller. It's difficult with the move controller, so I never tried that too much. But the DualSense prevents that issue. So you have the option to do realistic reloading if you want to. Otherwise, at least with the aim controller, it was just okay. I just run my controller next to my chest to grab more ammo for it to do the reload. So you can do a simple reload. So I think that's going to alleviate your issues. It's more of like a run and gun shooting game. Hit a button to reload, and it's like that easy. So I think you'll really enjoy this. Yeah, I should play it. I need to play it, and the PS5 to see how much it's been upgraded. Again, this also has crossplay, so you'll be able to play with people using the Quest or whatever, so you're not going to run out of the user base. It just doesn't have competitive mode of like you and me shooting each other, but that's okay. We don't need that because you're not very good at these games anyways.
Can I take my shirt off and pretend to be Rambo?
Yeah, for sure.
Boom. Okay, sold. So a game that I don't know much about, Awesome Asteroids, is 639. I didn't even know this game existed. I don't know what involvement of the PSVR2 it has, but it's on the PSVR2 page. So obviously there's some type of component that's virtual reality here. I don't know if you know about it, but I'm bringing it to the listeners' attention that if you want a cheap game that might be a toss up, here's your game.
This is that game that's like it was like Gunjack that came out for PSVR 1 where you're just sitting in like a turret. You don't move around, but you can like move where you're aiming, and it's asteroids coming at you. It's made by that Strange Games, a guy who made Honor and Duty, and then that like, Moonlander game for the PSVR that just came out too. So, I mean, what you see is what you get. It's a really cheap game, so, if you just looking for something to add to your library, maybe you'll like it. I don't know. I don't feel compelled to play it because I just have so much other stuff to play. But if you just want something really simple, that's probably going to be, satisfying, I guess. I don't know how it works with the PSVR 2 yet, so I need to find out more.
Yeah. Next, we got What the Bat, which is 1999. It seems like a fun little game. The issue is, we're just running so low on time. This is a game I wouldn't mind trying, but I just don't know if now is the time. Not because of the price, but just how long is it going to be for us to get through this whole freaking backlog we already have? And do I want to play Zenith or do I want to play What the Bat? Well, I'm going to play Zenith. Do I want to play Demio or What the Bat? I'm going to want to play Demio. Do I want to play After the Fall? Like, it's just low on the list. Eventually, I'm sure I'll get to it, but I can't do it now.
This is one of those like situational party games, right? Like you're having people over to play VR. Like What the Bat's the game you put on for somebody who doesn't really play a lot of video games. They're not looking for a story. They're not looking for a lot of action. They want to be sat in a scenario and it's kind of goofy and silly in VR. Your hands are baseball bats. You have to do stuff knowing that your hands are just baseball bats. The previews I've heard have been glowing. Everybody really likes it. It uses the room scale. So if you're looking for a reason to do some room scale stuff, this is a game that's going to showcase that. So I'd put it in like the same vein as like Tentacular, Job Simulator, that kind of stuff. You as a person who likes to have people over to play VR, it's probably a game worth having in your library because you just say, hey, play this game. It's kind of funny. Have a good time.
Well, I've got bad news because there's a competitor, Cactus Cowboy Plants at War, and this one's free. It's hard to fight free. So obviously I'm going to get it. When do I play it? Not sure. But you said you found some people who actually really like the game, right?
It has an overwhelmingly positive review on Steam for the Steam VR version. I mean, maybe that's just because it's free. But, I mean, you've seen free games that still get bad reviews because it's just like a waste of time. This game apparently plays really well. It's very simple looking. The graphics are like, look like stock images. I guess it's some guy trying to figure out how to make games and he just released what he made for free. Everybody says it's really fun and it's good and it's worth your time. It's probably pretty short, but whatever. It's free. It's probably just going to be fun to blast through and then move on to something else.
No doubt. So free. Pick that up right now. Hello Neighbor, $26.99. A game we've already talked about. A game I'm not interested in. I'm not buying it. How about you?
It's probably going to sell very well amongst the kids. It's just they can barely get the game to run well just in normal. I can't imagine adding the complexity of VR to make like somehow that's going to fix their problems. I don't think so. So I don't have high hopes for it. But maybe a review will come out and say they fixed everything. This is the best way to play it. Then maybe I'll have fun with it. But it's just not my cup of tea.
So Before Your Eyes, we've already talked about. As I mentioned, it is on sale for $13.49. Check that out.
That's the price of an IMAX movie. It's probably like the best dramatic movie you're ever going to see, or you'll see in a long time. So look at it that way. You're paying $13.49 to watch a really good movie. Look at it that way, and judge accordingly.
Finally, we got Creed, $35.99. This is a game that I know you have it. I don't know. Do you have to buy it all over again? I've forgotten.
No, you don't. I can't remember if it's a free upgrade or like a $10 upgrade, and I can look on Reddit real quick and find out. But There is
I
an
mean,
upgrade path for it for a limited time. I think like the first 3 months or something like that.
it was like I said, boxing in Resident Evil was good. That's clearly not a boxing game, but I just don't really want to get super sweaty in my VR, and I already sweat more in this headset than the other one. So I think I'm gonna pass on it. $36 is a little expensive, but if you already have it for a small fee for an upgrade, it very well may be worth it, especially if you lose to 14-year-old girls. Maybe if you immerse yourself enough in it, you could not suck so bad.
So owners of the original PSVR game can upgrade to the enhanced and expanded PSVR2 version for $19.99. So I think they're adding more content because that new Creed movie's coming out. They're making the multiplayer matchmaking better. I think it's going to have cross-play too, and it's going to have like enhanced mechanics. So it's better than the PSVR version. They've upgraded it and made it better. I'm certainly going to pay the $20 to get an upgrade. I want. There's the things that were lacking is like the haptic feedback in Creed. That's going to be here. If I feel a punch when I get punched in the head with the head haptics, like that sells it for me right there. That's what I need. I'm going to feel the punches. I want that, so I know that I'm getting hit as opposed to having to like look around and see where a health bar is or something like that.
Absolutely. The others I want to mention, they're flat games, but I have to do it. I have to. My favorite game of all time, Near Automata, and I'm telling you, it's not even close. It is so far ahead as my number one game. It is going to maybe take an act of God for something to overtake it. I can't imagine a game that could be better than this. It has everything you want: psychology, gameplay variety, incredible plot twists,
Big butts.
emotion, music. It's got everything. Alex, it's got 2B, boobies and butt, and fun trophies. Like it has everything. It's so freaking good. It's the cheapest it's ever been. It's $18. Please do it. Do it. It is worth it. Play it in your PSVR.
You should play it in cinematic mode. See if it feels a lot better. This is a good benchmark for you to see how good cinematic mode is for PSVR 2.
Oh, it's gonna be good. I play freaking Nier on a Game Boy and it would be great. And then the other two is just like I've wanted to play The Quarry, and it's like $70, and I'm not paying that for a freaking Dark Pictures like essentially movie, right? And it's now free if you're a premium member. I don't know if it's only if you're a premium or if you're on the next one down, but check it out. Also, Forbidden West. I can't believe they made Horizon that, although I guess it's been out now for like 2 years, right? I was like, yeah. I can't believe that's free, but I guess it has been out 2 years. But play Call of the Mountain and then go play some Forbidden West. It's free for you, Jim. It's a free game for you, Jim.
That's the thing about Horizon. It's a shame they made it so expensive for the PSVR 2 game because I've never been interested in the Horizon series. Now playing the PSVR game, I'm in this world and I'm seeing these characters and seeing what's going on. And for once, I'm actually interested. So now I can, if I really get invested in this environment, this universe, I can check out Forbidden West for free. That's a great deal. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how I feel when I finish Horizon, if I finish Horizon.
Yeah, well, I swear, you freaking suck. But what doesn't suck is us. And that's it for episode 109. Thank you for listening to Play PSVR, the podcast. And listen, do us a favor. We want to play with you. We want to play some Pavlov. We want to play some GT7. We want to play after the fall. But we need your gamer tags. Hit us up. It's contact@playpsvr.com. It's Twitter @gaming_court. Or, of course, gaming is in session on YouTube. We want to play with you. I want to murder you in Pavlov. And if you're lucky, I'll be reloading for 45 seconds so you can come pick me off to, get some kills. I promise you that will happen. But I hope you guys have been enjoying your PSVR 2. We sure have. Thank you for everyone who's played with us. Thank you for listening to Play PSVR 2, the podcast where virtual reality is our reality.